Good morning, everyone. This is Juana Amaria with Illinois WorkNet, and we have Dee Reinhardt on the call. We'd
Good
like to
morning.
welcome you all. Looks like everyone's very excited and chatty. Um, Thank you so much for participating in this webinar. We'll give you another minute or so just to get everybody on. And in the meanwhile, as we indicated, go ahead and download your documents from the meeting materials pod if you haven't already done so. And what you do is just select the file name and then save to your computer. You'll see the button at the bottom. You'll also have the different pods to go through, and that's just for us to capture data to see where you all are from and where you are in your social media learning curve. So of newcomers I'm looking through over here. Most of them are newcomers, so this will be interesting, and I'm sure you'll have plenty of questions. And so what we're going to do is just kind of go through the overall housekeeping items, and what I'd like to do first is there's a little guy at the bottom. I'm going to show you what that looks like. This is D and I. We are the presenters for today, and this is our final social media webinar, and so thank you so much for joining us. Now you notice there's a little guy at the bottom of your screen, looks like this, and what you want to do is select that feature and raise your hands if you can hear me. Hopefully, yes. Oh, thank you. We had some technical difficulties yesterday, and I was saying all these things, and nobody was raising their hand. And so now, please keep in mind that we will have you all muted until we get to the Q&A portion of the meeting. What that means is for those of you that are listening via broadcast, what you do is post your chat pod questions within the chat pod. For those of you that have called into the meeting, we do have a um, open floor option. So what you do, you'll select star pound when we ask questions. And so please go ahead and mute your speakers if you're on the phone so that we don't get any playback. So hopefully everyone is on and ready to go, and so we'll begin our webinar. Just to give you an idea, and I'll switch over to a different view, so your screen is going to change. And we have two pods there along with a PowerPoint. And the first one is to share your social media success stories. And we've heard so many wonderful things. And a lot of the people on the webinar are people that have joined us regularly. And it's so nice to kind of hear their stories of how they've used social media to find jobs or to build their businesses. And so go ahead and include your story. We'd love to hear it on the success stories chat pod, as well as questions as we're going through the PowerPoint. I'm sure there'll be plenty of things you want to ask, especially for the new users. And so the first thing we're going to do is just kind of go through the overview of the webinar series and kind of recap. This is the fifth webinar, so it's been 5 months of social media on Illinois WorkNet. And so we're going to walk you through how to more than anything, the overview of what social media means to us within the workplace, and then how to manage that social media image. And then we'll give you a step-by-step guide, and Dee will give a demo on different product suites that you can use to manage your social media networks, as well as all the different things you have going on within that. And then we'll give you some final tips and Q&A. And so I'm going to really kind of blast through this because yesterday we didn't have enough time, and I want to make sure that we're all, we're not rushing and that we can spend some time answering your questions. So I'd like to take this opportunity now to just introduce Dee Reinhardt, and she is with KCDEE, and we are just so pleased to have her on. It's been so much fun to just kind of go through the stuff. She has an amazing understanding of social media, and she's a certified pro now, so we're very proud of her. And she is part of KCDE, and that is an Illinois WorkNet partner. And what that means to you, that all of you that are not within the workforce, the WEA world, is it's a federally funded workforce development agency. And so Dee does all the marketing related tasks, along with, I'm sure, a million other things, to really help job seekers and businesses connect and reach their workforce goals or their, job search goals. So anyways, I'm kind of fading on that one. But so the other thing I wanted to add, I feel like I've said that so many times now. The other thing I wanted to add is that we will be live tweeting on this webinar. We're going to attempt to live tweet. It's kind of distracting sometimes. So, but what that means, and I'll let Dee kind of go through that, is we'll just use some of the sound bites of what we're learning throughout the webinar and put it through our Twitter accounts. And so Dee, if you want to give them a quick snippet on that one.
If you have a Twitter feed, the hashtag for the session, and you can see it right here. Whoops, my arrow didn't work. This is the hashtag, and what that means is it's just a special feed that if you search it on Twitter, you can follow along with comments that you want to make or that I am making or that Juana is making during the session. And if you go there, the tweets from yesterday are still there and available. Just search the hashtag WRKNET.
And I just actually sent out a tweet, and it said, sad that our social media webinars are coming to an end. And what happens is the more and more we all use that hashtag, the more we can all follow along. So it's very useful for us in collaborating with our messages. So the next thing is just to let you know, for those of you that have not joined us before, you can go ahead and log on to Illinois WorkNet, and you'll find all of these previous webinars along with the archived videos on the business pathway. So you just go on to illinoisworknet.com, click on the business's pathway, and then you'll find it under Develop. I have my arrow there, and we have a special page for social media, and so you can go ahead and you can go to the first webinar, creating a social media strategy, or go to the forum, and the forum is where I really encourage you all to go ahead and just continue the conversation, continue the dialogue. A lot of people have some great ideas. We've learned so much throughout the 5 months that we've been doing this, and it's all through participants. The world is really changing, and what's really interesting with social media is we're finding new ways to kind of all help one another and not have to reinvent the wheel. So go ahead and check that out, and you'll have all the different documents. We had some great questions yesterday about previous webinars, and it's all on there. So the other benefit to this page is that you can have your trainings, for instance, for staff, for those of you that are within the local workforce areas, where you can have them sit down and kind of go through it if they couldn't make it onto this webinar or to previous webinars. The other thing we do is all this data that we capture with the chat pods, we created a social media webinar summary, and so you can go in and see all the information that was captured and how many people are what, and kind of gauge the evolution of the series as well as the type of participants that we have on there, and so we share that all with you. And so the breakdown of today's webinar is just really going through the series overview. And then once we do the overview, we'll show you how to manage your social media networks and give the different demonstrations. And Dee will walk you through all of that. And then we'll give you some final tips and give you a chance to go through and let us know what you thought. Let us know how some of this has helped you, or how I'm sure some of this information for many people was just brand new. And even for us, we were going through this, and you learn so many things. It's like farther and farther down the rabbit hole. So go ahead and post questions and post your stories as we're going through the session. And so for those of you that are wondering, what is the big deal? Why are we talking about social media, and what are we referring to? Social media is the ability to connect with individuals real time and in a mass quantity. So for those of you that are looking for jobs, for those of you that are trying to build your businesses, although it seems very overwhelming, I think that more than ever, especially after this webinar, you'll realize how relevant all of this. And so with that said, we've put together some really interesting stats to kind of get the ball rolling. So why social media, and why should you care about this topic? And a lot of people say, oh, my kids are on Facebook. I just think it's annoying. I don't want to deal with this. And actually, 50% of the world's population is under 30 years old. And of that, 96% are part of a social network. So I thought that was really interesting to kind of understand like where the trends are going. And for instance, something else that we've added on here is Facebook tops Google. And I just really, I don't even know what the world was like before Google. Do you, Dee?
Um,
Can you imagine living without Google?
well, Google is now a term in the dictionary.
So that you know you're cool when you're in the dictionary. Uh, so just to kind of wrap your mind around it, I mean, it's the number one activity on the web. And then a fun stat that I put on there that was really, I thought, very cute is 1 in 8 couples married in the U.S. met via social media. And mind you, the U.S. is not like the leading country in internet interaction. I think Asia like blows us all away, but 1 in 8 couples have met on or via social media. The other thing to kind of give you an idea of how we're progressing is it took radio 38 years to reach 50 million. It took TV 13, internet 4, iPod 3, but Facebook added over 2 million users in less than a year. And iPod applications, so those are all the cool gadgets that you have on your iPhone or your, now it's iPad, right, that has come out, hit 1 billion in 9 months. And so that tells you how people are using and where their money and their interests are progressing towards. So with that said, and this is a quote that we added, we don't have a choice on whether we do social media. The question is how well we do it. And so this is kind of how we'd like to end these series and really enable you to be able to be at least proficient enough to make it work for you and whatever that means. And so the way we started the series was with creating a social media strategy. And that was really important because it's kind of like a brainstorming session, you know? You want to know what your pitch is. You want to know what your thing is. And we had different ideas here for those of you, for instance, that are part of like the local workforce areas or part of a state agency. And all of this is geared towards workforce or towards the workplace. And so one of the things that we put on there is what should your pitch be? And in the old days, your pitch was like your elevator speech. And so what could you say about yourself? And this is kind of how you should approach social media as well, is what is the impression that you want to create to the public, to the world? And then the other thing is, what is your one thing? And a lot of us are doing so many things, so I think it's hard to do. But what's important is once you start that foundation, because you progress through this, and especially for those of you that have joined us from the beginning, there's a lot of work that goes through this to build your following, to get all these people to pay attention to what you're sharing. And you don't want to kind of switch over and, you were first a diabetic specialist and then you became a mechanic and giving people car advice. And so you want to make sure what is your one thing, what are you projecting or what are you sharing online? Because although it's online, it's like the never-ending black hole. So once it's out there, it's out there. Somehow you'll be able to find it. And so we kind of walked people through, and that was a way for you to get your mind wrapped around what you want to have and what you want to build with your social media image. And the reason why that matters is if Facebook were a country, it would be the third largest in the world. And so that gives you an idea of how relevant all of that stuff is and how useful it is to really kind of put your mind to that. And so what we did is in the second webinar, we went through the basics of social media. And what that means is really kind of giving you the idea, now that you've brainstormed, right, you're going to have to decide pictures versus logos, what is your message? Okay, now that you have your message, how do you keep it consistent? How do you leave a legacy? And that's such a grand statement. And but that really, we do have that opportunity now. And I don't know, Dee, if you want to jump in and add anything to this, but I feel like we all are creating legacies now, especially with Twitter and with Facebook. It's so easy to even become Googleable.
And everything shows up and it stays there. And
Right.
sometimes, even if you take it down, it's still there.
And we'll talk about that towards the end as well, because I think that's so important when you're in managing your social media image. But the reason why it's important to really, really think through with these things as you're starting to build is, for instance, another stat, 50% of the mobile internet traffic in the UK is for Facebook. Imagine what that means for bad customer services experiences. And what's really funny, and we'll do this towards the end, is that works well, positive and negative. And with social media, not all attention is good attention. This isn't Hollywood, So it's really important to kind of know what is out there about you, as Dee mentioned, and knowing um, how you come across. And so,
When
do
I
you want to?
first started working retail years and years and years ago, the customer service adage was, if you upset one person, they tell 10 people. Nowadays, if you upset one person, they tell everybody in their following, and it can be
Right.
thousands of people.
If
You don't
not
want that getting
millions.
out.
Right. So, goes back to like the Nordstrom challenge or something, right?
Yes, yes.
um, and then what's important with that, right? So now that you've figured it out, you know what your message is, you're going to keep it straight, you're going to stick to the same topic. There's different tools out there, and there's so much going on. I mean, I think it's like, even since we started our social media webinars, things have changed on Facebook, for instance. They have a completely different upgrade. And so there's so much happening, and we touched upon things like email and Twitter and social networking with Ning and Facebook, and really kind of trying to create a space for people to feel comfortable using these things, because this is the world that we live in now. And I was sharing yesterday, there's people out there that I can email and they'll never respond, but if I send them a Facebook message, it's like they're on it. 2.5 seconds later, you know, there's people that just completely, utilize their Twitter accounts. So it depends on what you're comfortable with, but you have to start playing for any of that to really kind of, um, grow on you, or for you to be able to start using and know what that means. And the reason why all of this is important, making those connections, is because word of mouth now is computer to computer. And we were talking yesterday that YouTube is now the largest search engine in the world. It's beat Google. So imagine what you can do with that as a business owner. Imagine what you can do with that as, you have your store in Evanston, or you have your store, in Springfield, and you can take and tap into that large market and bring it in. And if you're really good at what you do, and a lot of us have something that we're really, really good at, so why not utilize this type of market? And so the stats that I added here was 78% of consumers trust peer recommendations. So we're no longer in the days of commercial breaks where everybody, actually watches them. Or the world is pretty much based on what we all share online and our opinions of that. And the other stat I have is 34% of bloggers post opinions about products and brands. And do you want to jump in on this one and give them more on that?
One thing that you have to be aware of is when bloggers are talking about a product, they do have to write in there whether or not they're being paid to blog about it. So you're going to get a truer opinion if it's a blogger who is not being reimbursed to write about a product.
Right.
Peer recommendations is now the number one way people find out about different products.
Right. And within that, something that we went through, and I know that analytics is a scary thing for some people if you think about it, but there's so many programs out there that do it for you. And the key to this, and this was within our basics of social media webinar, is to really define your goals. If you don't have, a benchmark, the trick is not to rely necessarily on the numbers. The numbers are very easy to get, but what are the numbers leading you to? And we had this great video within our second webinar, so I just encourage you to go and watch it, because it's funny. It's like Planet of the Apes or something, right? Um, the brand maker was one of the guys that shared that slide with us, and it was just really, really cool to see. Once you define your goals, you have your metrics and sentiment analysis, and what that means is, are these comments that you're getting in, a million comments, but are they positive or are they negative? Because that's going to be the number one thing when your name comes up and people are searching, that can really, really make a difference or an impact on your product or your service. And so beyond the metrics, there are product suites, and that's kind of the stuff that we're going to go through today. And just, you know, e- even though return on engagement, which is just a play on words for return on investment, um, isn't necessarily clear, if you can define what exactly, you're measuring against, that makes the world of difference within your social media. Because for us especially, and I was sharing this yesterday, you know, social media is free, and that's the biggest benefit of why we encourage people to use it. But it does cost you your time. And so, for instance, when Dee and I are working on this, it's not like, it gives us, we don't have extra time to, take away from other things. And so it does cost some investment within your time. And so you have to find out, how is it efficient? How are you being efficient with the time that you spend? And are you making an impact with what you're doing, right? Um, and so the stat that I have for that is return on investment of social media is, will your business still exist in 5 years? And that's a huge question, and this is just another reason for you to get more interested or more um, invested in kind of learning about this. So the third social media webinar was really, if you're going to start with the big three. And the first one we talked about is start to connect with the network using LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, as we talked about, this is your online Rolodex, your online resume. And then once you have made those connections, you've created that network, advance your network and ideas, expertise, whatever it is that you do, through your Twitter account. And then we go on and talk about other things you can do with Twitter. And then think of your Facebook profile. Think of what you do on Facebook. And we called it the online cocktail party. But really, it's kind of like an after-school program. Like, when you were applying for school, they wanted to see you're a well-rounded person. So most people, and I'll give you some stats on what that means, um, really, they look you up. They want to know, are you a fun person? And at the same time, you want to be very careful that you're not putting crazy pictures of your beer bong days. They were talking about this yesterday. Hanging upside down is not going to help you get a job. So be very mindful of the image that you're presenting out there, but don't be afraid to share either, your life or your information as to what's going on with you professionally or personally. And so what I added on here with Twitter is the reason why you should care is, for instance, Ashton Kutcher and Britney Spears have more Twitter followers than the entire populations of, so you have Sweden and you have Ireland, and um, it's just amazing to me, and I'm not even fans of either of these people, but to think that they have such an influence, and you can do that as well, depending on, what your one thing is, right? So I don't know, Dee, if you wanted to jump in on this.
There is a website, and I can't remember the name of it right now, that you can check what your influence level is based on how you tweet. And I can find that, and then I can tweet it out. but, but you have to follow me to find it. No.
Right. So that's your assignment for today is you have to follow Dee so you can get that information. Um, so just another idea, on some of the stuff that is really changing, whether you like it or not, whether you like the feeds, whether it's bombing your email box, your inbox. The other thing is just to utilize the other social media tools like LinkedIn, for instance, and really taking what you've experienced, what your common interests are with previous employees or with previous colleagues, and build that personal brand and then promote it, right? And so we talked about using your summary, for instance, to its full capacity of the 2,000 characters, and then upload your education, make sure that all your keywords are spelled correctly. These things are so experience. Yesterday I was writing a recommendation and I totally missed half of the sentence. And it's like you put that stuff up and it doesn't make the person look good. It doesn't make you look good, but it happens, right? And so it's very, very important to spell check and do all the things that you need to do to put that up because once it's up, it's up. And so we walked people through in the third social media webinar on, utilizing these different tools. And then this is not just for individuals, it's for businesses as well. And the big thing with this is to really listen. Once you've got this stuff together, listen to what people are saying. And then tailor your responses to what's going on within that because Twitter is probably one of the best customer service tools out there right now. So it's really, really important to, and Dee, I'm sure you can add on to this, but we had a great analogy for it. It's kind of like listening to the radio.
Yes, when you're listening to the radio, you come in where you're at, and Twitter's very much like that. I usually go back a couple of hours in my Twitter feeds because I don't have thousands of people that I follow, and I want to make sure that I'm catching important things that were posted, maybe while I was in my commute. But you just really, you have to jump in where you are. It's
Right.
it's like listening to the radio.
And then we went through Facebook and pages versus groups. And the bottom line with that really is groups are great for personal stuff like your classroom, class reunions or birthday parties or whatever. And then pages are for, bands and celebrities or your business, for instance, And so just to have an idea, and you don't necessarily have to be an expert, but this is just to kind of get you started in thinking of what you want to do and how you're going to use these options for yourself in finding a job or building your business. And then what we moved on to um, was really the tools that you need to know about, and we'll give you some great stats after this, but using blogs and how blogs are so helpful to job searches and really, the world is changing with RSS feed. For instance, we're no longer going out and looking for news articles. You can have them come to you. And, the live document, Wikipedia and wikis and how that works within productivity levels at work or projects or the way you can share with individuals. And go ahead, and if you have questions, I see a lot of the microphones on here. Go ahead and post them in the chat pod. We will give you a chance to talk, I promise, as soon as we get past the demo. And so the reason why you should know about these tools, and we're throwing this in, is Wikipedia has over 15 million articles, of which 78% of these articles are non-English. So I think that's an amazing statistic. And for those of you, we had a conversation about, the accuracy level. Wikipedia is at 97%, which I think even tops the standard printed encyclopedias. And so if you were paid $1 for every article posted, you'd make $1,712 and some change per hour. So that's pretty serious money. So just to give you an idea of why you should know about these things. And then the last webinar, which I thought was probably my favorite. I think it's just because we were into the meat of things, and it was more than tweeting and how do you connect individuals and employers. And we talked about building your personal brand and using social media as well as your physical networking to get yourself a job, getting the next job. And that's such a big topic right now. It's very, very important for people to use everything they have available to them and to really differentiate. And then we showed you how to use Twitter to do more than tell us, where you're going for lunch. So that was a lot of fun, and people were just really sharing and lots of great discussions. And the reason why that matters is because 80% of companies use social media for recruitment now. And we give a lot of information on that with LinkedIn, for instance. And here they have 95% using LinkedIn, and so they'll look for you before they even let you know that they've looked over your resume. And what's really cool, for instance, on LinkedIn, you can click on the PDF version of your profile, and it's like it's written a resume for you. Just
Hmm.
print it out. So I thought that was really interesting. So even the way you share your information, and it's very important. And Dee has a whole set of tips for you in the previous webinar on how to build a great LinkedIn profile. And then the last part, for those of you that are like, oh, my kids are on Facebook, I'm not going to do that. The fastest growing segment is actually 55 to 65-year-old females. So I thought that was really interesting because my mom is on Facebook. So that was not, I mean, I helped her, but it was still pretty exciting. Um, so what does that mean? And what we did is we created these kits, for you to have because opportunity knocks and you need to be ready to kind of have all the stuff ready to go. And so we talked about the different things that you should be working on and have in your toolbox, as we call it. And I would just encourage you to look that over. And then walking you through getting your job with social media and really doing the people search. The greatest advantage now with social media is that you have this accessibility to individuals. And so you say, oh, I want to work for KCDE. So you look them up and you see who works there, and then you send Dee an email and say, hey, I heard that you do marketing. What does it take to start working in marketing? And I guarantee you, anyone has, if you're being appropriate and you're being mindful, someone will take 5 minutes out of your day to say, okay, yes, I'll help you out. I'll give you a couple tips. Um, and then just really, using blogs, for instance. I don't know if you want to kind of add that in, Dee.
Blogs are a good way to express your opinion and become an expert as well as answering questions on LinkedIn. Becoming an expert, showing that you're knowledgeable in a particular field, also helps people when they're looking for you to fill a position for them. It helps them know that you know what you're talking about. Um, Answering the questions that come up on LinkedIn, joining groups, responding to discussions in groups, that's all ways to A, improve your ranking on Google if somebody searches you, and B, show your expertise.
Right. And actually what's interesting now with groups, for instance, our Illinois WorkNet group, there's so many people having conversations on there, and it's just so much fun. It's people are sharing, hey, I got a second interview thanks to LinkedIn, or people were sharing about their businesses and how they've doubled. Yesterday, one of the participants shared how, oh, I learned how to use blogging thanks to your webinar, and now we got all these people on here, and it's really exciting. I think this is what it's supposed to be. People just to feel more comfortable to use this stuff, and just you really creating a way. For instance, like with video resumes, I'm sure some of you are looking at that like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to post a video. But for those people that are within media, that's the way to go. And we have some great stats and kind of stories on that. So we'll share that towards the end. And then lastly, to just understand what's available out there and connecting for jobs, and especially on Twitter and job boards. And for those of you that are workforce professionals and you're doing recruiting or job development, these are free. I think that's enough said, right?
Mhm.
Free. You can post it yourself. You have a
Mhm.
gazillion people that will see it, and it just improves your chances of finding likely candidates. And so, go ahead and check that stuff out when you have a chance. If you want more information on connecting to jobs with there. And lastly, is just really walking you through, and this is what we're going to do in our demonstration, is how do you manage your time and how do you manage your networks and what can you do? Because all of this stuff 5 months later is a lot of stuff to manage, right? And so we'll give you some tips on your followers and how you can see who's following you and gather what's most important. Um, schedule tweets. Like, for instance, Dee and I scheduled some tweets because it's hard to tweet and talk.
Mhm.
I feel like we should coin that phrase or something. And then the statistics, right? So going back to ROI, if you're spending all this time, you're sitting in through webinars, you're investing, right? You're investing your day, and so what is this doing for you? What is it doing for your business? Are you finding jobs? And that's how you're going to find out. You can track your statistics. You can get demographics on what type of people are following you, for instance, which is awesome for places like KCDE and Illinois WorkNet. We want to know. We want to know who's listening to us, and so we can know how to tailor our information to them. And so that's where that comes in. And we'll do a quick demonstration. I just wanted to go back, yeah. Um, Go ahead and I'm going to switch screens, and Dee is going to take over and show you how to do a couple of these things. And so your screen is going to go gray for a second until she zooms in.
Okay, can you see my
Yes.
desktop now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. First of all, I like Seismic Desktop to to um, use Twitter all the time. First of all, I have 4 feeds that I look at on a regular basis. I have my Facebook page, my Facebook fan pages, and then I have our hashtag discussion up. And what I can do is I can pick who I want the message to go out from. I can search feeds. I can search um, for profiles because I have the option of doing a tweet search, or I can look up profiles. I like desktop because for an everyday usage, this is just very something that I really like a whole lot. Now I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to go to our web page, or my website, Oh, my browser. Okay, I can talk. We're going to talk about HootSuite, and what I like about HootSuite is you can schedule tweets. HootSuite works very well for, and very similarly to Seismic, in the fact that if I go to the home page of every of my one of my feeds, I can do a quick view of what's going on in all of those feeds. And if you notice, there's the D. Reinhardt for Twitter, my family business, our local workforce investment board group, and then of course KCDEE. And then within each of these tabs, I can see what the feed is, what the home feed is, what mentions have been happening. So um, I mentioned KCDEE right here in a feed, and I mentioned myself and Juana and Illinois WorkNet. And then I can see direct messages that come with the date and the time. And what you want to do to be an a properly etiquetted, if that's a word, tweeter, you want to respond to people that mention you, thank them for the mentions, thank them for the retweets, and respond to any direct messages that you get. So that's just proper etiquette. Additionally, when you want to send a tweet, you can type in here as I am demonstrating how to use HootSuite and schedule tweets. Of course, I can't type when I know that there's lots of people watching me type, but um, you can send it later, and you can um, see it all on, let's see if I can get this out here, Control B. Oh, it's already shrunken, sorry. Um, on And what that'll do is it will shrink it and add it to my message. I can send it later by clicking this and saying that I want to schedule it at, time is it, 10:40 a.m. Schedule it. Oh, I got to pick a person to tweet it and schedule it. So that message will go out at 10:40. Oh, got to be 5 minutes in the future. It'll be 10:45. So it tells you when you're doing something wrong, and it'll go out under my tweet. The other thing that you can do is, what I like about um, Hootsuite is that um, you can add your LinkedIn account. And so if you go under social networks, it shows you to add an account. You can add any Twitter account that that you have. You can add Facebook page. You can add Facebook pages, your fan pages. You can add your LinkedIn account by just adding it. And then that way you can update your status. Um, you can add your status updates if you want to. One thing that will potentially annoy some people is, and if you notice up here now, you've got my Twitter feed, my Facebook page, and my LinkedIn account, and you can tell what it is by the little icon in the corner of the picture. Um, what you can do with this then is update all at once, pick all of these streams to send an update. It will annoy people that don't have a lot of people that they follow. If they're not following a number of people, you will just inundate their stream. But for people who are following thousands of people, you want to send tweets out in blocks. And talking about blocks really quickly right here, if you're not sure how to tweet out a block, you want to say something like 5 at a time, maybe just so that you see that icon on a regular basis. You might want to tweet something that's personal. You might want to tweet something that's valuable, something that's funny, like the joke of the day. Retweet somebody else's message. Retweet or tweet about what you're working on, or invite them to join you on a social media forum like your blog or Ping or Ploxo or something. The other thing I'm sorry, invite a team member, what I just had up there on the screen. Invite a team member. What you can do with inviting a team member here is if you've got 5 or 6 people that are working on your customer service team, you can add those team members to your particular area. So like if Creekwood Homes had 5 team members that worked on customer service, I would invite those 5 team members, and then if I had a tweet in here from Creekwood Homes that required a customer service response, I can assign that to one of those team members. Okay, I could go on a little bit longer about HootSuite, but I want to move on to Social Oomph right now. Social Oomph, you can also schedule tweets. It is a tweet later option, or it used to be called tweet later, so this gives you that opportunity. What I like about Social Oomph is that you can schedule direct messages. On this particular account, the grayed out area is for a paid account, but all of these blue items are all things that you can get just for the free account. So here you can add a Twitter account, you can add StatusNet, but if I wanted to add my blog or my Facebook page or Ping, I would have to pay for the updated subscription. So if you notice up here in the corner it says D. Reinhardt is free. Direct messages that you can do that I like about Social Oomph is that you can schedule welcome messages. And what I'll show you here is I've got welcome messages scheduled for our family business, for me, and then for KCDEE. And we're going to look at these. And what it does is you can automatically send a welcome message to a new follower. So if Juana was a new follower of mine, she would get one of these messages. And I invite all of you on the call to follow us on KCDEE or me personally, and then you'll see one of these messages. One reason why you want to rotate your welcome messages, and there's directions right here how to rotate the message, but one reason why is if you're getting a lot of followers on a regular basis, you don't want the exact same message showing up. And so in your Twitter feed, as people are getting welcomed, they're seeing different things. So this is one message here. This is another message here. And this is another message here. And what I've done is I've gotten 140 character message out. And in some cases, I've directed them to our Facebook page or to our blog or actually to our website. And all of this shows you the directions. You can decide to automatically follow people. You can choose to vet them. And what that means is you want to check them out so that you're not ending up following spammers or having spammers follow you. All right. I think that's about it on Social Oomph. A couple of things.
Dee, if I could just jump in. Esconde asked, does HootSuite slows down system processing?
HootSuite is a web-based application, as is Social Oomph. And it depends on how fast your web link is. If you're on a T3 line or if you're on cable internet, you won't really have any time unless there's a sunspot or something going on that you just got no control over. I've noticed that with Seismic that it comes up as fast as, you can see the pictures just flipped. And this is 3 minutes ago. This is just now. So these things happen pretty simultaneously depending on how fast your connection is. If you're on Dialup still, there is no hope for you. So,
you're in the wrong webinar.
Yeah.
How did you get on?
Talking about going back to figuring out what you want to tweet or what you can tweet, YoTwits is an option here that you can do, and you choose what you want to broadcast. So if you want to broadcast about um, jobs, you can go to Chicago, and you can see that there are these things on the job boards or on Twitter right now. You can select how many tweets you want to go, and talking back in those blocks, you want 5 tweets to go out as frequently as you can, just to get your name recognized, to see why people are talking about you. And then you can pick how often you want them to go. Just enter your Twitter username here, your password here, get the YoTwits, and it shows up. I actually picked news um, from the Chicago Tribune to go out under KCDE. But then the other thing that you can do is add a feed that you want to go out. So if you have a blog and you want it to feed and you're writing very prolifically, you can get that to go out, or you can retweet anyone that you want to retweet. So if I automatically want to retweet at IL WorkNet, I'm going to tweet 5 tweets up. I'm going to pick every 3 hours. I'm putting in KCDEE5, and I'm putting in our password, and I'm getting get YoTwits. Oops, got to do an @ and trying to talk and type. It's just, or talk and tweet. We need to
Coin
actually
that.
do that. Okay, well, we get the idea here, and I'm trying to go through this very fast, so that's what you need to do. Another couple of areas where you can find tweets is Alltop, and you can just pick things and then retweet it, and you can find out in Stuff to Tweet. This is just another source to find things to tweet about, and they've got all different kinds of topics here. So Mashable is a really good source if you're trying to find out about how to do different things in social media. Mashable is an excellent resource. One thing that you want to try to do is you want to try to get the word out about what you're doing. And I found this resource. It's called Share This, and you can get a Share This button. And what that does is it gives you icons to put on your web page to actually share information on your web page that you want to go out. So I actually picked the multiple icons. I put it on using my Blogger account, and I'm going to get this code. And if you are not your own webmaster, like I'm my own webmaster, so I took this code and I copied it into my web page. Carol just sent up a message, and Mashable is Mashable, just like she spelled it on there. You put this code between the head tags, you put this code between the body tags, and what you end up with, and your webmaster can help you with this if you just show them where this page is. But what you end up with is, like on our web page here, I'm going to go to another page, youth, because we have youth programs. These icons up here take you to our blog, our Twitter page, and our Facebook page. But these icons right here will take you to share something on Facebook, Twitter, or under one of these other options. So if I want to share about this youth program on my Facebook page, then I can say we have youth services available for youth 16 to 21 years old. Check it out. And then that will post to my Facebook page. So we're going to close that. Shorteners. if you're talking about shortening web links, this particular one is bit.ly. And if you're using HootSuite, the shortener right here will give you an ow.ly or an ht.ly. And but if you're using bit.ly, they use the bit.ly. And if you look right here, I've tweeted out about the social media page. I've had 9 clicks out of 26 views for the page that takes you to the social media page on illinoisworknet.com. Another couple of things that we were talking about and managing your brand. I'm going to just show them real quick, but then we'll talk about managing your brand a little bit later. Backtype. If you type in a URL, it will tell you how many people are referring back to it. So that in January, we had 15, or what was it, 16 from twitter.com, and then it goes up and down. So this is a good way to track who's coming to your website or any other website that you might check into. So looking at this, you can see that they're going right around our workshops and right around different things where we actually are mentioning a lot about it. Real-time search social mention is another way to check on what's being said about your organization. And then we've got a couple of other ones that we can talk about a little bit later. So I think I'm done. Juana, if you want to take the screen back.
Sure. Bleeding away while you were talking.
Good girl.
So let's switch over. Your screen is going to change again. There we go. And so what I'd like to do now is just take this part of the segment of the social media webinar to give you a chance to share your success stories. Let us know how comfortable you are, what you plan on doing. Hopefully you still, you don't need to take a deep breath anymore. We've kind of worked you into feeling comfortable about this stuff, and then how you plan on using it. And so go ahead and share that information there. And as well as those of you that are on the call, if you now have questions, go ahead and star pound if you'd like to ask us via the conference call number. So star pound is what you get to request the floor. And so please share your, and more so your feedback. I think that's the most interesting part of all this. For those of you that have been on, what would you like to share with us, and what would you like to see happen in future webinars? What are hot topics to you? That's also very important. We're trying to learn and develop different series, and so let us know what you'd like to learn about. And so the Q&A session has begun.
Uh-oh, it's that awkward silence.
I think we've covered it throughout the PowerPoint, so um,
Couple of things that Juana and I were talking about trying to do future webinar topics for is maybe an advanced or an in-depth LinkedIn profile session, or maybe how to adequately use a Facebook fan page. If you want to put any of those ideas into the chat pod or into, are you going to put that webinar idea one back up later?
I will, yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to give them a minute to do that, and then I wanted us to, while they're thinking of questions, to go through and just give them our final tips.
Yeah.
Do
we want to talk about this Cleverest Way?
Yeah, I do. And I actually posted a tweet on asking people to share with us the cleverest way they found a job. And so go ahead and give them.
This was a YouTube video that talked about a gentleman who actually wanted to work for a PR firm in New York, and he targeted 6 uh, ad agency or PR agency corporate executives because to manage your brand, you need to Google yourself. That's one thing that you need to do. So as they were Googling themselves, they saw this ad, and it shows up right here, the ad. And what happens is, out of this ad that he placed to 6 people, he got 4 interviews, he got 2 job offers, and he's currently working for one of those companies. And the total cost was $6. So that was a very unique way to actually go about trying to find a job.
Right. So this is just to kind of motivate you to think outside the box and use these tools to help you get there. The other tip, and this is really important, is managing your brand, and Dee'll go through and kind of give you some ideas on everything from Google Alerts to what you need to do to make sure that your image out there is what you want it to be. So if you want to give them some pointers.
Managing your brand is just as simple as doing a Google alert, setting up a Google alert to find out what's being said about you, or use the social mention, or use one of those tools that will get information to you about what is being said about you. The Google Alerts, set up one for your company, set up one for yourself, set up one for any keywords that you want to keep track of, set up one for your competitor in case they're in case they're getting anything mentioned about them. If there's something negative being said, or if you see something show up that's thought of as negative, you want to try and get it down as rapidly as possible. If you posted it, you can take it down. If you um, if you are tagged in a photo, you can remove that tag, and then nobody else can um, re-tag it. If you didn't post it, or if you can't untag it, ask the person who did post it to take it down. If you can't get that person to take it down, ask the site administrator. If there's no luck there, if you're not getting anywhere with it, then you need to actually respond to the negative statements. Now, all of us realize that there's 3 sides to every story, right? There's your side, my side, and the truth. So all you can really do is put your side of the story out there. In a lot of cases, you don't even have to worry about that, because people that are your fans or followers will actually take care of the issue for you. And Juana has a story about the United Guitar.
Right, and just to to help you conceptualize how important this is. And by the way, if you've downloaded the PDF files, these are all live links. And so you just go ahead and click on it, and it'll take you directly to that page and directly to that the website for instance, Dave Carroll. So Dave Carroll is a folk country singer, and he was traveling, actually in Chicago, and with United, and realized that they started throwing around um, his guitar as they were loading up the plane. And so it was some crazy expensive guitar, $3,500. And so he tries to put in this claim for United, and it took something crazy like 9 months to get any kind of response from them. And then they denied, because I think United cap is 1,200, and denied um, paying for it, saying that they needed to see it, giving him all these crazy excuses, which you can read about on his website. And so being a musician, he said, okay, I'll show you, I'll get my revenge, and made a whole song about it. And it's hysterical because it's called United Breaks Guitars. And the video, the YouTube video, was posted on July 6th. And within the first 26 hours, he had 461 comments. So we were talking before about, positive, but imagine what you can do as in customer service with negative. And so by the end of the next day, the video quickly went viral, and showing more than 2,400 views by Tuesday night, so which is the following night. And what ended up happening is he spent 9 months trying to get United to call him back, and then they ended up calling him directly and resolving the issue. But he continued on. He has 3 videos now, because that was his promise. He wanted to reach 1 million users. And that tells you a lot. So you as United are kind of, your image is tarnished, but I mean they tarnish their own image in a sense because, for instance, the stats that I have on that U.S. Department of Transportation tally of lost, damage, delayed, or lost baggage. In April of '09, United ranked 10th among 19 carriers with 13,517 baggage reports. And I'm wondering if maybe that's the reason we all have to pay for it now.
Yeah.
So just to give you a very funny real-world example, and we're not bad-mouthing United or anything like that, but to give you an idea of what you can do to kind of get the message across and to protect yourself as well. And also, all those stats that we used for, reasons why you should use social media is from this video called The Social Media Revolution based on socioeconomics, right? And so go ahead and click on that link and you'll see where, where all that takes you. And it's a very, very interesting video, cool music, kind of get you thinking. And I'm going to go ahead and go back to the Q&A so that you can post what you'd like the future webinar topics to be. I think this is a very, very important part. So please take at least, give us one line before you sign off as to what would be interesting to you in seeing.
I want to thank everybody for participating today.
Yeah,
If
and
you've
this
got
is
any questions for us, I know we're really close to the end of the session, but if you've got any questions, I'm willing to stay on as long as Juana will let me.
as long as I don't kick everybody off, right?
Yeah.
And I highly encourage you all, I'm going to put the closing info here, to go ahead and reach out to us and hopefully
Hmm.
but you can link to both of us on our emails, and I'll send that information with a follow-up email so that you can have all the documents you need to know how to get online to get the, for instance, archive videos. That'll be posted once we're done with this webinar, and so um, just to give you an idea of what's available, and go ahead and download, and you'll notice here you can
Oh, I noticed
presentation.
that.
Yeah. So go ahead and download from the meeting materials. And thank you so much for sharing your webinar topics. There's a lot of great information being shared. People just started a blog and a LinkedIn account and, using all this information. And so we really appreciate it. We actually had someone within the LinkedIn group share that they're on their second interview, and all thanks to, really utilizing their LinkedIn account. And I thought that was awesome because we want to hear these success stories. These are the reasons why we work so hard to put the information in the webinars together. And so we don't have any other questions. We're going to thank you for participating. I thank Dee for being on and sharing all her information with us. And
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
yeah, and we'll send you her, since the contact information isn't working on there for some reason, we'll send you all her information as well, so that you can get a hold of us if you have further questions. And also, as I mentioned before, you can continue these conversations with the people that are on the webinars, within our forum. So go ahead and click on the business pathway, and then just click on social media. You'll see a big prompt there, and continue the conversation, helping one another. There's so much out there, and people know so many different things, and so it's great for people to help one another and collaborate, mass collaboration. I'm a big fan of that. So with that said, thank you so much. Happy Friday. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we appreciate you having being a part of our webinar and being on. So thank you so much.
Thank you.